Welcome back to the Purple Political Breakdown. How's it going? How's your day been? And today we are reacting to a Piers Morgan debate in regards to the Biden-Trump thing. I might do the Hassan one too. The Hassan debate, that seems like it's going to be very entertaining. If you guys want me to do the Piers Morgan, Hassan, and Chank, and some other guy debate, if you guys want me to do that one, react to that one as well, let's get this to... let's get this to 20 likes, and if it gets 20 likes, then we'll react to that. But with that said, let's react to the Destiny one because this one should be interesting. It also has Michael Knowles, so Daily Wire representation and
a streamer and commentator, Destiny. Right, Destiny, let me start with you. Are you going to stare down the barrel of that camera and construct any convincing argument that Joe Biden should now remain as the Democrat nominee for this election?
I think the difficult reality is your incumbent advantage is strong, and at this point, it's too late to replace him. So you're kind of stuck with him at this point.
It's not too late, though. There is a mechanism. They can do it. They can ratify it at the convention. It's not too late. And we're going to come to Tommy in a moment, who's been saying for ages is more likely to be Gavin Newsom. I think she was right all along. And actually, I said similar things myself. It's not too late. The question is, are the Democrats, after that,
Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom. I haven't looked into Gavin Newsom. I believe he's the guy from California. I believe he had a... I think I'm gonna do a Gavin Newsom debate reaction, and I'm gonna see how good he really is in a future video. But
absolute horror story of a debate, seriously going to let this guy be the one who allows Trump to get back to the White House? That's the calculation, surely.
I mean, your strongest arguments are Biden's ran against Trump before and won, and Biden's your incumbent. You can say that it's not too late to replace him, that somebody like Gavin Newsom can run for president and he can do just as good as Biden would. But, I mean, people said the same thing, that DeSantis would represent a strong challenge to Trump, and he got absolutely obliterated. It's easy to look at a candidate that hasn't gone through the ringer, that hasn't been tested in a national level election, but who knows if Newsom comes out. There could be one or two little scandals lurking behind the curtains that now we see that gets infinite airtime over the next few months. The reality is that Biden is probably the best shot the Democrats have right now to win.
But do you genuinely...
It really depends on the poll that social media has, right? The people who plan to vote for Trump will vote for Trump regardless. And the people who are kind of in the middle, how much sway will social media and these debates really have? Because in terms of policy, in terms of all that, in terms of rhetoric, like, one is stronger than the other. I think Biden's clearly stronger in that. But if he goes up in debates and looks worse, not is in terms of substance worse, but looks worse, is that all it takes to sway things? And if that's all it takes, that is scary. But I mean, to be fair, optics matter. Optics has been mattering like all of human history. It's how you represent yourself that matters the most. I think we've all known that, and I think this is a perfect representation of that. So
I believe he should therefore continue and be the nominee.
I think that the Democrats should run the best candidate that they can to defeat Donald Trump.
You keep distancing yourself from this, Destiny. Come on.
Put
your head over the parapet. What do you think?
Well, I think that Joe Biden is the best candidate right now, given that he's already beaten Donald Trump in one election. I think that Joe Biden is the best candidate right now to run against Donald Trump.
You think
beating Donald Trump is really important?
Hang on. Sorry, I don't want to be unfair to you, Destiny, but of all the Democrats in America, how many are there? I mean, tens of millions, right? Of all of them, you think Joe Biden right now, after that debate, is the best candidate the party can produce? Seriously?
I'm sure there are better candidates, but it's not about who the best candidate is. It's about who you know the best candidate is. I'm sure that you could flip a coin and find.
100% agree. I haven't looked into Democratic candidates much, but it's a popularity contest. Unfortunately, it's how much you are really known across the entire war and the entirety of America. It's unfortunate, but that is true. The best candidates, I mean, the best Republican candidate is not running for president right now. The best Republican candidate was either Nikki Haley, DeSantis, or I liked Burgum as well. So there's like other better Republican candidates than Donald Trump. Like, Donald Trump is known way more. So that's really not an argument.
find somebody that might end up performing better. But again, look at how many people have these huge reputations. Look at Cuomo and how he was destroyed after a couple scandals. Like, you have no idea if you take a candidate who looks strong. And I admit Newsom looks strong. He's amazing on-stage presentation and everything. But who knows if you throw him up that there are just one or two accusations or one or two scandals or one or two things that the American public doesn't know about that now dominates the news cycle for the next few months. And even though he was a strong candidate on paper, like DeSantis, he disappears.
Okay, Tommy Loan, you've been waiting patiently, actually for several years, to say what I think you're about to say, which is that, of course, they should get rid of Biden and try and parachute in somebody like Newsom. I mean, do you feel a bit vindicated by what's been going on?
I feel very vindicated, but I'll also say, Piers, I hope that they run Joe Biden. That would be the easiest contest for Donald Trump to beat, would be Joe Biden.
Right.
So as much as I do believe they're going to select another candidate, I hope that they maintain with Joe Biden. I hope that that's their guy. And if that is the strongest candidate you have in the Democrat Party, that says a lot about the Democrat Party. Last week's debate performance was...
I mean, if Donald Trump is your strongest candidate in the Republican Party, that says a lot about the Republican Party. It's not really a win for you, I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, you guys praise him like he's Jesus, so maybe it is.
horrifying. It was horrifying as an American to watch because, like it or not,
I'm gonna look like a Democrat. Oh my goodness, I'm not a Democrat, but I'm going to look like a Democrat because of how much it's crazy. If like Donald Trump didn't exist, I probably would be a Republican, but we don't have to go into it.
this guy still represents the United States of America. And as an American, although I didn't vote for Joe Biden, and I will never vote for Joe Biden, that is still my president. And our enemies and our allies watched that, and it was horrifying. Not only the mumbles and the bumbles and the losing the train of thought. At one point, Joe Biden said that people are getting raped by their in-laws and their sisters. He had one opportunity to dunk on the issue of abortion, where he really could get the eyes and ears of the American public that's very divided on that issue, and he chose to say that people are getting raped by their sisters. So that was a horrible...
I mean, if you're talking about incest and abortion, I mean, I get the premise, but sure.
performance. I think they've got to go with somebody else. And what I think is so interesting here is that of all the names being floated, I'm not hearing Vice President Kamala Harris on the tip of the tongue of any leading Democrat. I'm hearing Gavin Newsom. I'm hearing Gretchen Whitmer. I'm hearing a couple of other names being floated, but nobody's really saying Vice President Kamala Harris. And that's got to sting.
We have a little clip, which is a mashup. There's a much longer version of about 4 minutes of her repeating the same line. This is a little bit of it. Watch this.
What could be, unburdened by what had been.
What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, been.
I don't care.
You posted that on X. I mean, this goes on for 4 minutes. It's about all she ever says. And there's an irony because the one thing she would be...
I don't think anybody here likes Kamala Harris, though.
Because if there's anyone in America or the Democrat Party more unpopular than Joe Biden, it is Kamala Harris.
Agreed. Nobody likes Kamala
Yeah,
Harris.
Piers, and that's why they keep jacking up Joe to get him through each and every single day, is because the thought of Kamala Harris terrifies them even more than Dementia Joe. She also says things about the passage of time and how it passes. I mean, she has no excuse. She doesn't have cognitive decline or dementia to fall back on. She is just that bad. So I think that's why they've been maintaining Joe for so long. It's because of Kamala, but boy, they're going to have to face that reality sooner than later.
Yeah, Francesca, look, we've talked about this before, but there must be a painful moment right now for a lot of people who are Democrats, right? Where your guy is just clearly has now been exposed as, I would argue, as somebody who's not got a horse in the race, I'm British, that I just think has exposed himself as unfit for the highest office in the land.
I mean, I'm really going to. If someone knows, okay, I'm gonna really have to break this down. Someone has mental issues, incoherent, understands policy better, has better policies, and has ran the country better, versus someone who has great character, well, not strong character, very well spoken, very good speaker, very, good political speaker, has no policies, had bad political policy plans, and ran the country worse. Can I just take the worst parts of Trump and the worst parts of Biden and just combine them? Oh, damn, bro. Why is this is... Donald Trump really went up against Hillary Clinton, a woman who was more hated than Donald Trump in his first election. Probably the most hated person in America. and now he's going up against Joe Biden, who seems completely incoherent. Like, how did the Democrats let this happen? Like, it's actually crazy to me that the Democrats allow this. No, I'm saying the word allow this to happen. You put him up against Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden in the second term. Joe Biden first term just like was way better than Donald Trump. But like, you knew Biden had these. Bro, it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing. These are my presidential
What do you
candidates
do?
right now.
You know, there are 5 months left of the election. You either allow him
Donald
to
Trump
move
is
on,
probably going to
and
win,
I
bro.
believe if that's the case, get crushed.
And I'm
or
utterly
you
disgusted.
try and
Maybe everything will be all right. Maybe all the Democrats will go like, and all the Republicans will just let Donald Trump be a figurehead, and he inherently can't. I mean, we'll see. He said he wants to do some crazy stuff while he's in.
parachute somebody else in, which carries with it.
He plans
as
to
Dustin was
fire
saying,
everybody, bro.
risks.
Yeah, no, there's massive risks of replacing Joe Biden. That being said, I do think he should be replaced. And interestingly, Hunter Biden is the one family member that wants Joe Biden to not run
Why
again.
would anyone listen to him? I mean,
No,
it's just like
I think it's more self. I'm just saying
they're
it's more
listening to Hunter
self-interested.
Biden, the
He
crack
just wants
addict.
a single day without the right on his dick, you know, because they love to spread photos of it and show it on congressional floors. But look, politically, here's where I stand. I wanted Bernie, not Weekend at Bernie's. I think we all need to just lay that out there. I put this squarely at the feet of the Democratic Party. They ran a piss-poor candidate in 2016. They ran in 2020, and yes, they did win. There was a trifecta. There was a COVID-19 pandemic going on at the time, and Obama made that call, and everybody fell in line. But is Joe Biden the best candidate this time around? Absolutely not. And I think it is depressing and enraging to millions of Americans who the only person they hate more than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris maybe is Donald Trump, right? Is the fact that you have everything going against Donald Trump, not just the fact that he will pass a national abortion ban, the fact that he wants to implement Project 2025 and abolish the Department of Education.
Here's the problem.
Let me finish.
But that isn't true. He's not said he wants to pass a national abortion ban. So, see, when I hear Democrats do that, it reminds me of Trump's the new Hitler. It's like, why exaggerate?
This is gonna be interesting. This is gonna be interesting. I'm glad there's variety on this panel. We got a progressive, we got Destiny, the Democrat, we got Knowles being the conservative. I don't know what the blonde girl is, but she seems like a Donald Trump shill. But we'll see.
Why go too far? He's never said he wants a national abortion ban.
Pay attention to the news that's happening right now. The far-right takeover of the judicial system in this country is already underway. And just today, they allowed a president to have immunity, total immunity, which means the Jack Smith case
Actually, it
against
wasn't
Donald
total
Trump
immunity. See,
doesn't go forward.
Francesca, look, with respect, again, you're massively exaggerating. The U.S.
Okay,
Supreme
well,
Court has ruled
go to Project 2025
well, let me
and tell me
clarify
what
for
it says,
viewers, right?
Piers.
You said they've given him total immunity. They haven't. The Supreme Court ruled.
Project 2025. I'm curious about that. Let's look it up. Project 2025. Project 2025. Well, here's the summary. This was created by the Heritage Foundation. Heritage, what's the Heritage Foundation? What is the Heritage Foundation? All right, so let's break this down. So we have terminologies. The Heritage Foundation, sometimes referred simply as Heritage, is an activist American conservative think tank based in D.C. founded in 1973. It took a leading role in the conservative movement in the 1980s. During the presidency of Reagan, its policies were taken from Heritage Foundation studies, including its mandate for leadership. So it's a conservative group. Project 2025 is a plan to reshape the executive branch of the U.S. federal government in the event of a Republican victory in the 2024 U.S. presidential election. That is crazy. What? The initiative aims to be ready with conservative policy recommendations when the party retakes the White House. The group is also vetting and training personnel who could populate a future administration. What in corruption? What the hell is this? Oh no. Let me read more of this. Um, it proposes reclassifying tens of thousands of merit-based federal civil service workers as political appointees in order to replace them with those loyal to the next Republican president. It also adopts a maximalist version of the unitary executive theory, a disputed interpretation of Article 2 of the Constitution of the United States, which asserts that the president has absolute power over the executive branch. What in the corruption is this? Critics of the Project 2025 has characterized it as an authoritarian Christian nationalist plan to transform the United States into autocracy. Several legal experts have asserted it would undermine the rule of law. What is this? What in the corruption is this? Does Donald Trump endorse it? Let me look this up. Does Donald Trump endorse Project 2025? Let me see. Trump has campaigned on vastly expanded authority of the federal government, particularly the executive branch, expressed by his support of Project 20. Provides two references. So there's no direct quote from Trump that he endorses Project 2025. That shit is corrupt as hell, though. I'm just be honest.
Donald Trump is partially immune from prosecution for actions taken while he was in the White House. They said that while the president's immune from criminal prosecution for official acts taken in office, he is not immune for unofficial acts. Big difference to total immunity. So
Sure,
again, why exaggerate?
There is nothing to exaggerate here. What
You
I'm
just
saying
did about abortion and immunity.
So he's immune from stealing White House secrets after he leaves the office. Is that what you're saying? It's okay for him
You
to
mean
keep
like Joe
classified
Biden did?
Yeah, Joe Biden, when he was told, he was like, oh, here you go. Look, I'm not here to defend Joe Biden. You're trying to get on me. All I'm saying is Donald Trump represents a far worse threat to the American people. And Joe Biden's a terrible messenger for his own damn campaign. He can't even articulate the fact that unemployment was at its lowest rate last year since the year 1969.
I agree. He couldn't
the economy is actually doing quite well under Joe Biden,
of course.
but the guy can't put his mouth around the words.
And he had a perfectly
True.
good attack line on Trump about abortion if he could remember what it was supposed to be. But he couldn't.
Right.
Michael Knowles, let me bring Michael. He's been waiting very patiently. I mean, look, I think what was extraordinary, 65% of people who watched that debate thought Trump was a winner. Trump hasn't seen approval like that as a politician, right? So that showed you how bad it was. And incredibly, 30% of people who watched it thought that Biden won, which just goes to show how deep partisan tribalism runs, right? Because even Joe Biden knows, even Barack Obama said he had a bad night. What happens here? What do you?
Yeah, I still think Joe Biden won. I mean, I care about substance. I didn't care about the optics. That's why I was looking at Joe Biden as winning. In terms of what was being said, you can't name me a single good thing that Donald Trump said in terms of the questions being asked. And everything he said was basically lying. So if everything he says is a lie, he doesn't answer any questions, and he has no policy, the only thing that you're judging Donald Trump on is that he looked more coherent. That's it, and that is lazy. So, Piers, I need you to lock in, buddy.
What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I have to correct
Knowles is not going to say a single thing.
Americans hate more than Biden is Trump. That isn't true. That's why Biden proposed the debate in the first place, is because his numbers just were not strong enough against Trump, and it completely backfired on him. However, I'm with Destiny. I agree that Biden is the best nominee for the Democrats right now. I still don't think he beats Trump, but who else are they going to pick? As we've said, Kamala, no way. Michelle Obama's not going to run, and she's not nearly as popular as people say she is. Gavin Newsom, I don't think that Patrick Bateman plays in Peoria, okay? I don't think Gavin Newsom wins Michigan. I don't think he wins Pennsylvania. Who? Mayor Pete? Who are we going to get? Are we going to dig up Al Gore? Is he going to run? There is no better candidate for them right now. The problem is that Joe Biden also can no longer be the nominee because the entire liberal establishment has just admitted he's not fit for the job. The biggest problem right now for Biden is he has admitted it. You know, we heard in 2020 that his obvious slips and gaffes and memory lapses were just the recurrence of a childhood stutter that had disappeared for the first 47 years of his political career. But there it came roaring back in 2019. And now even Biden is admitting, he says, I don't talk as well as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But doggone it, the one thing I can do is tell the truth, which rings hollow when even CNN had to go on a 3-minute diatribe, a litany of all the lies that he told during that Thursday debate.
Well, hold on. They both had some lies, for sure. But I wonder if Michael Knowles is going to keep the same energy. Because one thing that Joe Biden did lie about, and I can point it out. Joe Biden lied about the, well, not lied. It's just, it's not it can't be confirmed. Like the Hitler statement can't be confirmed. The one about the military veterans can't be confirmed. And then one lie that he did tell, let me try to remember, because all of them was like partial truths. The border patrol was like a partial truth because they endorsed Biden's immigration policy. They didn't endorse Biden. So partial truths. Donald Trump just straight out lied. Yes, you can kind of see what side I'm going on, but if like we count out everything they both said, we could do it together. I literally have a video on my channel going through all of Donald Trump's lies versus Biden. I have it on my channel, and I can tell you from what I researched or what I looked up. It wasn't crazy research. I just had to look it up, have someone fact check for me. What I looked up is Trump lied way more and way more vehemently than Biden. So
not to forget that Joe Biden dropped out of the 1988 presidential race because of dishonesty. So the question now is, if Destiny and I are correct, and he just is the nominee, then how does the New York Times, how does Politico, how does Washington Post, how does the entire liberal establishment campaign for this guy after admitting he's not fit to be president?
When you and Destiny basically agree, that's when you know how bad this situation is, right? I just want to bring in Fox News medical contributor Dr. Mark Siegel quickly. Dr. Mark, great to see you. And the reason I wanted to talk to you was because we've got a clip. This is Biden debating before the 2020 election and Biden debating now. I want you to watch this and just.
I wonder if they're going to go into substance or we're going to stay on optics the entire time.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money.
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what you're.
The optics looks bad. I don't agree. We can keep on hammering this point. The optics look bad.
Off 16, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I would bet $100,000 to a charity of President Biden's choice that I could give him a shot a hole rather than him giving me 10 shots, and I'd still beat it. This idea he was ever a six-handicapper is ludicrous. But Dr. Mark, there are so many clips that people are comparing to 4 years ago to 8 years ago, Joe Biden in debates, where he sounds previously whip smart, really on it, dynamic, and so on, eloquent, articulate. That person no longer exists. What is likely to be happening here?
I'm glad you used the word likely, because obviously I haven't examined it, but Piers, first of all, everyone out there needs to know that he's going to be the last to know. Any neurologist will tell you he's going to be the last to admit it. Those around him will see him faltering. They'll see him having problems with speech, searching for words, not following a sentence from beginning to end, saying ridiculous things, saying offensive things, getting irritated when he's contended with. That's a sign of growing cognitive impairment. He's going to be the last to admit it. And then his wife steps in and starts speaking for him, reminiscent of Woodrow Wilson, when he couldn't rule the country and his wife was taking instruction and running the country. That was probably the scariest thing of all. I think that there's a lot of risks he has here for dementia. One, he has an irregular heartbeat, and that irregular heartbeat can lead to silent ischemia, silent strokes.
This is interesting information, but it's all like can't be confirmed, so I only can take it with a grain of salt.
With this gate up here, that's going on. Piers, never mind whether he's going to run or not. Can he be president now?
Right.
He doesn't have cognitive reserve. What happens if we get to
saying like the next finger to the debate stage?
He has a cold, will sometimes speak clearly or think.
Turned out, for example, that he genuinely has got.
I mean, the only reason why I'm skipping this is like they're not saying anything. They're just repeating. Biden can't speak. He's getting older. He has dementia. Like they've said the same thing for like 20 minutes. Like nothing's changed. So that's what I'm trying to kind of get to some like meat on the bones.
The trash that comes out of his mouth, all those things. But in terms of his actual performance, Trump on that debate stage the other night, if anything, it was the most restrained I'd ever seen him. Because even he could tell the guy next to him was just melting down. So Destiny, there's the problem.
What a black job is, Piers, after watching him? Did you guys figure out what a black job is?
I'm going to come to you in a moment for your analysis of what we think a black job is. But let me just get Destiny. That's what I think the problem is, right? The problem is that.
Piers, you're gonna let him answer?
I understand what you're saying, okay? As somebody who spent the last 8 years cutting their teeth doing debate, that's what I do, is political debate. All I've heard every single time is debate doesn't matter. It's not that important. Now all of a sudden that's the most important role.
It does when it's that bad.
Why are we talking? What about the immunity for?
You can't pick and choose, Piers. You can't go like it does when it's that bad. That's not a. It's either it matters or it doesn't matter. And when I say this, it's not a black and white type thing. It matters based off context or it doesn't matter at all. That's what I mean. Because not all debates have value based on the structure and the information being received. But all debates matter depending on the information that is being used. You got to pick and choose on how you're going to approach it. So it's
criminal actions that Donald Trump just secured in front of the Supreme Court.
American
the
people.
Idea that,
well, again,
it's an insane thing that what we're talking about is Biden's debate performance over the legal requests that Donald Trump is making.
Yes, but Destiny, but that's the problem.
That's what we're focused on.
But that's
this is a problem. I agree.
But Destiny, right there is the problem: is that people are only talking about. So remember, before the debate, 2/3 of all Democrat voters wanted Biden to stand aside because they were worried he was too old. What do you think they think now? No one's changing their mind on that. If anything, I'd be amazed if it's not 90%. And that's the problem. You've got so many things to attack Trump about, but nobody wants to hear it. When has Trump ever been in a debate where the next day the headlines weren't all about him? It's never happened. But now the only thing that anyone will look for with Biden in the next 5 months is him showing further evidence of mental and physical decline. If you bring in Tommy,
I really can't believe these are two candidates.
This is going to be the greatest period to be a Donald Trump in a presidential race ever, because he just has to keep allowing his opponent to do stupid things and say dumb stuff and look exhausted and lose his train of thought. That's all he has to do.
Right, and I'd also like to make the point, and I know that the liberals on this panel are going to have a collective hemorrhoid when I say it, but even if former President Donald Trump wasn't standing next to a vegetable last Thursday, he still would have performed excellently, and he did. He got his points across. He was able to finesse some of the issues, would have performed excellently. Former President Donald Trump wasn't standing next to a vegetable last Thursday. He still would have performed excellently, and he did. He got his points across. He was able...
He got his points across. She's about to... she is about to lie like crazy. I can't wait to hear this bullshit. Come on.
To finesse some of the issues like abortion.
Finesse some of the issues? You want your president to finesse the issues? Honest conversation, Trump supporters. Isn't the whole thing regarding like the supporting Trump is that you want honest politicians? You want people who are honest and doing things for the people? Why would you want someone to finesse the issues? I don't get that. I really don't get that. That was a weird point to me.
In a way that I've always been concerned about, but I think he did a great job.
So she's okay with him finessing the issues as long as okay.
I want to point that out. But as I've said, I don't think they're going to keep with Joe Biden. I know that all the Democrats say, well, they have to because of this and that. Logistically, they have to keep with him. You can't keep along with somebody who in the next several months is going to go downhill even more steeply. This is not going to be a linear decline. It is going to accelerate. Anybody who's watched an elderly person decline this way knows it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And I think there needs to be more of a discussion.
I really hope they get into what was actually talked about. Piers, you can't spend 51 minutes just talking about how Biden is incoherent. Can we talk about what was actually said in the debate? Or does that not matter? Or I don't know. I feel like the substance should matter.
Joe Biden is that she is standing by as her husband is going through this. This is truly evil.
Shut up. I'm sorry. I need to calm myself. The reason why I'm angry, because I want to bridge the gap with you Trump supporters. I don't want to kind of cast y'all aside, but I need y'all to stop doing this, where it's like the ultimate evil, ultimate good, I'm the best, you're the worst. It is the laziest way to have a political conversation. I need y'all to stop doing that. I really need y'all to stop doing that. Because everything that you just think that is a negative, it's the most evil thing. Jill Biden, she's the most evil woman because her husband is in a debate. These are ridiculous statements being made. These are such hyperbolic statements. It's so lazy. Oh my goodness, it's so lazy.
Why she's not pulling him aside and saying enough's enough just shows that she is so hungry for power. She's
hungry for power. You just said you want Donald Trump to finesse questions so he wins the election. Like, I can't listen to this Donald Trump girl, bro. I can't.
Willing to embarrass.
I think I've interviewed Dr. Biden about 10 years ago now, and I've watched her in the last couple of days, and I'm seeing somebody who seems even more desperate not to give this up than Joe Biden is. And surely any spouse in that position, forget politics for a moment, who sees their other half humiliated on a global stage like that in the way that it went down.
What are we talking about? Do y'all know what it takes to become president of the United States? Do y'all know what it takes to be the spouse of the president of the United States? What are we doing? Why are we attacking his wife for this? This is weird energy. What are we doing? This is weird. This is very weird. This is so weird. What are we doing?
Surely the humane thing to do is to persuade that person it's over, isn't it?
Sure, but also Nancy Reagan apparently was running the show for the last few years of that administration, so you never know. Tommy might be right on this. But look, here's the thing. I'm just jealous of Republicans. Like, you guys are just so loyal, you know? I mean, MAGA is a cult of peaked-in high school conspiracy theorists who want tax breaks and a mass deportation of migrants, and they won't abandon Trump no matter what, and you just gotta admire that kind of...
Yo, Piers, shut up and let her answer. What is going on? It's just like Destiny talks. He interrupts. She talks, he interrupts. She talks, he shuts up and listens. Like, what is going on right now? I'm so confused. Where's the consistency in your moderation?
Loyalty.
Hang on. Do you know who the biggest deporter of migrants was in U.S. presidential history?
Yeah, it was the guy who's not running for president.
Did you know who it was?
It was Barack Obama.
Yes, it was. A Democrat.
Yeah.
3 million.
I hate the Democratic policy.
3 million migrants, he said.
That's irrelevant to the point she... What is Piers Morgan doing? Is he moderating? Wait, what is he doing? He is ready to let her speak and let him speak. Is this I thought Piers Morgan wasn't I thought he hated Trump. Like, hey, I'm okay with you being objective. I'm okay with you being fair, but you're not being fair. It's very obvious to me that the left side is getting interrupted and attacked more than the right side. It's really weird. I need you to just let them talk, and if you want to respond, fine, but you can't just keep interrupting only the lefties.
Crime.
He was the deporter in chief. Donald Trump, by comparison to Obama, wasn't even at the races when it came to...
Donald Trump dealt with COVID. 1. Donald Trump was shut down the border and put out a Muslim ban because and his rhetoric was they might be terrorists. What are we doing, Piers? What are we doing? What are we doing? He literally calls people consistently. He said to Biden that Biden is letting in a bunch of criminals and terrorists. He put a blanket statement in terms of immigration as people that are criminals and terrorists. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, Piers? What are we doing?
I just wish Democrats had Republican conviction. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we have a wet noodle as a candidate, and Republicans are like, yeah, he sexually abused Eugene Carroll and he tried to overturn an election that he rightfully lost, and he's got 2 impeachments. Well, we love this guy. Let's effing go. And I just wish we had that kind of commitment.
Did you love? Did you like Bill Clinton?
Shut up, Piers. Oh, I need to relax. But my issue is not the interruptions. I don't care that he's interrupting. I really don't care. I care that he's choosing to interrupt a specific side and not interrupting the other side. Because she just went on a whole Donald Trump circle jerk. He went on a whole thing about agreeing with Destiny. You didn't say a single word. But every time she speaks, you interrupt. Every time Destiny speaks, you interrupt. What is going on? Like, what are we doing, Piers?
No, not really. I did not believe in deregulation and like the 94 NAFTA bill.
What did you think of the fact he paid Paula Jones $850,000 to make a sexual harassment case go away? Or what did you think of him having sex with a young... What did you think of having sex with a young intern?
I don't know why you're...
in the Oval
Again,
Office?
Piers, again, look, we all know you want Celebrity Apprentice. We all know that that Trump calls you. But like, how
Actually,
much...
I've had quite a frosty time with Trump in the last year and a half. So I wouldn't overstate our current
But he still
relationship.
calls you. But you always talk about how he calls you. You're like, I'm a liberal. But...
No, but hey, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a conservative. Never have been. I ran a left.
The way you're acting is very shady because you won't let her speak. You won't let him speak. But they are having the time of their lives. Like, I thought Piers Morgan was more like in the middle. I'm very confused right now.
Left-wing newspaper in Britain for 10 years, right? I would call myself a centrist, actually.
You're not proving it here. You're not proving it at all. Because you're just focusing on Joe Biden. You're not letting them talk about Donald Trump. There's 2 people in this election. What is going on?
I'm a journalist who likes to go after both sides, hold both sides to account.
You're not doing it though, because every time she's grilling Donald Trump, you are combating her questions. What is the? I don't understand. Like, I feel like Piers Morgan needs to look in the mirror. I feel like Piers Morgan's wife needs to tell him to, hey, you might be going too far. I can't let you go down this evil road of where you're only interrupting lefties. I need you to be more fair. Maybe your wife should do better, because that's the type of rhetoric we bring up regarding Joe Biden's weird. But
right now, the problem that the Democrats have is no one's talking about it. They're all talking about whether the guy currently in the White House can even know what day it is. That's the problem.
A lot of people would vote for a corpse over Donald Trump. That
they may have
actually
to.
says more about Donald Trump than it does about Joe Biden. Let's go.
All right, Michael Knowles. Apparently, people will vote for a corpse over Donald.
Yo, if he I wonder if he tries to counter what's the counterfact? No, it's like counter. I wonder if he tries to throw out a rebuttal to anything Knowles says. I'm not. Let's watch. Let's watch if he does.
Donald Trump.
They will,
Let's see.
and please let them do it. Let the partisan Democrats do it. I'm now all in on
He laughs,
Democratic
okay.
rhetoric. The Democratic primary voters have made their decision. They want Joe Biden as their nominee. It would be an assault on the integrity of this country and on our sacred democracy.
He
if
laughs
they replace
again.
Him now, I can't wait to see him in all 50 states. You know, at this point, obviously, the man is not up to the job. So someone else is running the country, whether that's Jill, whether it's Ron Klain, whether it's, I don't know, whether it's Barack Obama.
Do you know what's really
behind,
interesting, Michael?
you know,
This is really interesting to me, this panel, because if we'd gone back, 3 months, you'd have all been shouting at each other, arguing about Trump. The two siding to the Democrat side here on the panel, you've been muted by what's happened. I can feel that the
You keep on interrupting them. So he let my. You know what's interesting? What just happened right in front of my eyes is Knowles was going to go on his rant. Piers interrupted him just to shit on Biden more. What happened to talking? What happened to talking about both sides? Where's the Donald Trump conversation? Maybe when she was talking about Donald Trump, you interrupted her. But all right, let's see how this kind of progresses.
The enthusiasm to beat up conservatives has just flown out of your bodies. I mean, there's not been one argument. You've all just sat there going, "We agree. He sucks. Your own guy sucks. He's barely alive. You've lost your.
Your own guy sucks. He's barely alive. Oh, I'm centrist. I attack both sides. Okay, all right, Piers. This is not looking good. I'm not gonna lie. And I mean, I consider myself in the middle. I actively admitted that Biden optically looks terrible. He looks incoherent. I actively admitted it. I'm actually attacking both sides. Piers, I don't know what you're doing right now. I'm not going to lie.
Fight, haven't you? Biden has removed the fight from Democrats. That's what I'm seeing here.
Absolutely. Actually, I agree with that.
You agree?
I totally disagree. No, if Donald Trump is taking insane, again, the Supreme Court ruling today is unbelievable. The idea that instead on today's show we're going to focus on whether or not Biden had a bad debate performance is just reflective of the I don't want to say agenda in a negative way, but of what you want to talk about today on this program. Like, I think that the decisions that are being made right now legislatively in the Supreme Court are more important, or that are being made in the Supreme Court are more important than whether or not Biden has a bad.
Just let him finish. Let him
Trump was able
finish.
to put 3 judges on the court in one term. You know why that was? Because you put up a terrible candidate, Hillary Clinton, who was incredibly polarizing, very arrogant, very.
What does that have to do with now? What does that have to do with anything? What is the point Piers is making?
Superior, and she got flatlined by Trump when no one saw it coming on the Democrat.
I agree. Hillary Clinton was a bad candidate. But what does that have to do with 2024 right now? What is it?
Side. And secondly, some of your Democrat judges who should have known better decided they weren't going to resign. They weren't going to retire. And because of that, Trump was able to pack that court. So I'm afraid you reap what you sow. Just very bad politics by the Democrats.
One of those Supreme Court justices were literally lost by McConnell just robbing a president of the rights to seat a judge. Nobody remembers that Garland was supposed to be on the Supreme Court for almost a full year. McConnell said, we're not going to have that hearing. That is indefensible.
Let me bring in Michael here.
Oh my God.
Tommy has
Yo, am I tripping? Because Piers Morgan's bias in this whole debate is weird. It is weird. Destiny was trying to give his take, and then Piers Morgan interrupted him He interrupted him when he was about to go down the conversation. He was about to go down whatever that's, I don't know. He was talking about Supreme Court, but he was about to go down all this stuff. Piers interrupted him and it was like, you know what? I want Michael Knowles to talk instead to kind of, defend the right. Like, what is going on? Am I missing something? Did something happen where Piers Morgan became a right winger, like out of nowhere? Am I missing something here? Because I don't watch Piers Morgan at all. I just see in clips. I don't have a strong opinion. Well, my impression was that he was more in the middle, considering some of the topics he would talk about, right? But maybe I was fooled. Maybe the only thing that he seemed to, maybe I was fooled. Maybe I was wrong the entire time. And maybe he has always been more right wing. Because the way he is presenting himself is extremely biased to the right now.
Even a moment. So, Michael, I come to you, then come back to Tommy for a final wrap from her. But, Michael.
Destiny, the principle that you're articulating that a president should be able to put a judge on the court in an election year, or rather that you say Mitch McConnell violated, was a rule first articulated by Joe Biden in the 90s when he was trying to kill George Bush's judges. So obviously there was a decision today. It said that the president has some immunity for criminal acts or acts committed in his official capacity as president. And this is based on a 40-year precedent. And so it really goes all the way back to the Marshall Court. And really nothing should be surprising about this. And yes, the Democrats are upset. They're
not true.
This is just let me finish 1 second, Destiny. They're inveighing because they say we should be talking about the immunity case. Well, but part of the articulation of, I just was reading the decision, was that, look, this is the first time that you've got a president who's being prosecuted in this way. And that's the problem, because the vast majority of Americans, right, left, and center, have been saying in survey after survey that they view the prosecutions of Trump as primarily politically motivated. They view this as kind of corrupt. And that's one of the reasons why Biden's poll numbers have been so bad for so long. And so they throw this Hail Mary to do a debate in June before either party has settled on a nominee. And it completely blew up in their face. And so no wonder people want to talk about it. You've got a political order that is fraying. You got a guy trying to put his opponent into an orange jumpsuit, and it turns out the guy who's trying to do that has applesauce for brains. No wonder people are concerned.
The American people, a bit like the British, I think.
Oh, and then he's about to hop on to the right wing rhetoric. Piers Morgan, it's 3 right wingers versus 2 left wingers. And I usually don't like to put labels, but actions speak louder than words. He has said nothing bad about the right. He has said nothing bad about Trump. He is only shat on the left, and he's only shat on Democrats, and he's only shatted on Joe Biden. The bias is glaring. He's also allowed him to talk, allowed her to talk, and interrupted every single time Destiny and her talked. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm repeating myself, but it's...
And the fact that the first case that was used against Trump to try and convict him and put him in prison involved a payoff to a porn star 20 years ago for a supposed one-night stand, or whether it happened or not, that just smelt to them like a massive overreach. Whether he did
What? What are you trying to say?
it or not, they didn't care. It's like the idea that the first American...
He falsified legal documents. So, hey... You can falsify legal documents. It's no big deal. As long as you're Donald Trump. What the fuck are we talking about?
President in history to ever be convicted of a crime in a criminal court is convicted over something so pathetic and trivial. The American people, the right-minded, reasonable people who are not in the kind of mad tribal ends of their parties, all went, well, that's ridiculous.
This is Piers. This is depressing, man. This is depressing.
And actually demeaning to the country. Tommy, I know you got to go. So final thoughts from you before we let you go, and then we'll carry on with with Francesca as the rose between 2 thorns afterwards. But Tommy, your summary of where we are with this. What do you think is going to happen?
Yes.
Give me
I really don't care about her take. I'm gonna be honest.
Destiny, I can see you thoroughly agreeing with.
I guarantee she didn't say anything, and Piers just let her talk. Guarantee it. I don't care. Piers, he's losing so much credibility right in front of my eyes.
I think Tommy was saying that.
And it's not the fact that he's like shitting on Joe Biden. I don't care. I don't care he's shitting on Joe Biden. Like, people from the Daily Wire, they shit on Joe Biden, but it's what you try to represent, and as long as you adhere to that. Like, I respect Knowles. I respect Shapiro. I respect Clavin. Matt Walsh, shaky. But I respect them because they stand on the convictions that they state. They stand on the side that they state. This is what we represent. We're gonna protect Republican and conservative interests. Piers saying he's a centrist and then being extremely biased for the right in this entire panel That I don't respect. You lose so much respect in that situation for sure.
It's just Francesca, I think is the name. I agree with her. The thing that Democrats suck on, that we're missing, is this blind allegiance to a leader. Literally, no matter what he does, it is the engine that powers Republicans. It allows them to lie for their leader. It allows them to excuse horrendous actions by their leader. It allows them to look at a president and, for after decades of saying, "Oh, we need to limit the power of government. Oh, we need to limit the power," say, "Well, maybe the president should actually be above most criminal prosecution." Also, as a quick thing, you keep saying that no, it's just partial immunity for official acts. What is an official act of the president? If you actually listen to the oral arguments that were presented before the Supreme Court, what that act even is, and the ability to even probe for it, is stuff right now that is now presumed to be immune. For instance, just a real quick thing. When Donald Trump is asking Pence, "Hey, can you?"
You see how Piers wanted to rebuttal? He wants to defend Donald Trump and the right. Like, it's two Republicans versus two on the right versus two on the left. Piers, you're not in the center. You are not in the center today. You are on the right. I'm sorry. You are on the right today.
Out the election because I don't like the results, which is a real thing that happened, by the way. As much as I would like to say,
Man, I'm not really commentating in terms of what they're saying. They're not really saying nothing. That's why they're not. There's nothing being said, to be honest. I mean, Destiny's finally talking about something. She talked about a little bit, but like he kept on interrupting, so it was hard to really. It's just circle jerking, freaking. Okay, let me.
Say that's not true. That is counted as an official.
I'm not trying to hate on your Lord and Savior Donald Trump. I just don't like him. I think he's a terrible president. I'm sorry.
Remotely similar, Republicans will lose their minds.
Have you read the decision? I know it just came out this morning, but have you gone through the decision yet?
I read up to page 25, and part of it, I can read it out to you. He explicitly calls out that whenever the president and vice president discuss their official responsibilities, they engage in official conduct, meaning that presiding over the January 6th certification proceeding, at which members count, yes, so that did count as official conduct. So if you thought that he was trying to do a coup, try to steal the election by saying
Joe Biden is also incoherent. I don't want either of them as president, so don't. I hate both of them equally, so don't hate me too much. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, do you think you can throw those votes out? Well, that's beyond prosecution.
You can dispute or object to any actions that Trump takes, but it is simply the case that when a president is carrying out his duties and is speaking to his subordinates in the White House, that is obviously official business. If he were to bring in a bunch of, I don't know, drug dealers and hookers or something.
I think. Hold on. When Donald Trump is, I wasn't really listening. I'm now. I'm going to listen to what Destiny just said.
Pence, hey, can you throw out the election because I don't like the results, which is a real thing that happened, by the way. As much as I would like to say that's not true, that is counted as an official action because these are the roles of the president and vice president, deciding how to count the electoral votes. That is insanity to me. If Biden were to do anything remotely similar, Republicans would lose their minds.
So I haven't read. There's so much stuff I need to catch up on. I haven't read the. So are they saying that this is an official business of a president that he can say this to Pence? Is that the argument? I'm gonna read through it later, and I'm probably gonna do a short breaking it down. But I think it sounds like that's what Destiny's saying. I wasn't really listening.
I know it just came out this morning, but have you gone through the decision yet?
I read up to page 25, and part of it, I can read it out to you. He explicitly calls out that whenever the president and vice president discuss their official responsibilities, they engage in official conduct, meaning that presiding over the January 6th certification proceeding, at which members count, yes, so that did count as official conduct. So if you thought that he was trying to do a coup, try to steal the election by saying, hey, do you think you can throw those votes out? Well, that's beyond prosecution.
Okay, so that is a crazy precedent to set. Ooh, that's a crazy precedent to set. Okay.
You can dispute or object to any actions that Trump takes, but it is simply the case that when a president is carrying out his duties and is speaking to his subordinates in the White House, that is obviously official business.
Does the content of what is being said not matters to you, Knowles? Does that not matter at all?
If he were to bring in a bunch
let me
drug dealers and hookers or something, that would probably be an unofficial crime.
Okay. But the content of you speaking to your subordinates should matter. And I feel like, don't assume that I'm right about this, but I'm going to throw this out in there. So I feel like if Donald Trump said, I want to get rid of Christianity in America and completely ban it, that would be official business, right? Well, how would I make that? Okay, hold on. Let me make this in a way where it would be like illegal, but he's still talking to a subordinate. So let me put this in a way for the right to not like. So I feel like if Donald Trump told his subordinates to, hey, subordinates, I want you to Let's see. I don't want to go too extreme. Like, for example, I was thinking, I want you to contact Texas and tell them to leave America and that they are no longer. No, that's a weird one. I don't want to do anything kind of like, oh, hey, subordinates, I want you to contact Russia so I can give you blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I feel like that's weird. But it has to be something that in relation to a coup, like maybe saying, I'm going to overthrow the Supreme Court and I will never leave office. I feel like that statement saying to your officials what should not be qualified as official business. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like that statement itself saying I'm going to blatantly saying I'm going to overthrow the government. I feel like he wouldn't go like, oh, that's official business. It's okay, right? So
not related to his duties as president. And the reason that this matters and why it's really a moderate decision is because it goes back about 40 years to Nixon versus Fitzgerald, which found out that the president, yes, indeed, has quite a lot of immunity from at least from civil liability. And then the reason that this is such a novel bombshell case is because until Joe Biden tried to
having a lot of liability and civil liability. What does that have to do with the current situation? This is a criminal case.
Throw his rival into the clink. We didn't prosecute presidents because that's the kind of behavior typical of banana republics and tin pot dictators.
What? Wait, what? Hold on, what?
And then the reason that this is such a novel bombshell case is because until Joe Biden tried to throw his rival into the clink, we didn't prosecute presidents because that's the kind of behavior typical of banana republics and tin pot dictatorships. But the argument.
Well, because presidents back then, unless you can prove it, unless the evidence substantiates itself, were not criminals. Can you prove they were criminals? Can you give me an example of a president doing some criminal acts? If you can give me an example, I'll go into the details, and I personally will look it up and say, yeah, they probably should have prosecuted him. I would have kept the same energy. But can you give me an example of that happening? Because it's not like you would have to prove that it happened in the past, they didn't do it, and now it's a different situation. You have to prove that this situation is different. That's what you have to prove.
And I'm sure you've read this, even if you've just read the first 25 pages, goes all the way back to the Marshall Court. It goes all the way back to the finding that the presidency does have certain privileges. It's not totally beholden to the other two branches of government. It's got an executive privilege. We have a separation of powers here. It goes back to the Federalist Papers when the framers of the Constitution said that they need a vigorous presidency.
That doesn't mean he's immune to criminal acts. That's none of what you're saying is what this means. What?
Because the problem with the first American Republic, which was the Articles of Confederation, was that you didn't have any strong executive power. So
you can have a strong executive power without allowing your executive power to do criminal activities. So what are we doing here? The manipulation tactics and what he's trying to indicate from everything he's talking about is so weird to me right now. What are we doing right now? You give executive like officials, I'm gonna say that, and so I can use the other term afterwards. You give executive officials certain powers that embolden what their role is in the government. That doesn't mean that their powers shield them from them doing criminal acts. It's not a one-to-one type thing, right? What are we doing right now?
This is not something new. This is perfectly in keeping with the American legal tradition.
Prove it. I need you to prove that to me. I'm not going to lie. You got to prove that to me.
And now the Democrats are really upset about it, not because it's an upending of American jurisprudence, but
because
I
feel like you're lying.
They're going to actually have to run on their guy. They're not going to be able to cheat and throw the guy in jail or take him banish him to St. Helena. They're going to have a fair and square election, and they know they're going to lose it.
Yeah, Can I just ask a quick question? I just want to hear just a quick question. Yeah. So you're saying that if a president were to order the assassination of a presidential opponent in an election, you're telling me that if he thinks it's for national security reasons, you would defend that as being above any kind of review for criminal prosecution. You would say, well, that was an official act as president, right? I answer that question. I really want to answer that question.
I can answer you if you don't interrupt. You're bringing up one of the important questions that was raised during the oral arguments, and it's an argument against the case that Trump's team was making, but it doesn't really pertain to the actual judgment that came down because they didn't say that the president gets to do whatever he wants.
You're not answering the question, Knowles. You're going to the facts of the case. You're saying, oh, that's not what they talked about. So no. Based on your statement, I need you to answer this question, Knowles. I need you to answer the question. Come on, buddy. I need you to
He doesn't
answer
get to
the
go and
question.
assassinate his rivals. He doesn't get to do this, that, or the other thing. But he does.
Oh, wait,
have,
hold
he
on.
didn't say that the president gets to do whatever he wants. He doesn't get to go and assassinate his rivals. He doesn't get to do this, that, or the other thing. But he does.
Okay, maybe he is answering the question. Okay, I'll take it back. My bad. Hold up. Let me
An argument against the case that Trump's team was making.
Okay, so he's using the facts of the case to highlight exceptions. Okay,
But it doesn't really pertain to the actual judgment that came down, because they didn't say that the president gets to do whatever he wants. He doesn't get to go and assassinate his rivals. He doesn't get to do this, that, or the other thing. But he
Why
does
not?
have
Sotomayor
a very
had that in her
robust
dissent. She
scope.
said he could do that, and it would be beyond review. She put that in her dissent. I did read her dissenting opinion. So how would it be not
Sure,
part of the official job as president? They order drone strikes, don't they? They order the military, don't they? He's the commander in chief, isn't he? Why wouldn't he be able to order the strike and say, you can impeach me if you want, but you can't hold me criminally liable? This is my official act as president.
Sure. Well, I mean, even the aspect of impeachment is kind of secondary to that, because the Trump team was arguing that if you want to go after a president at all, you've got to do it through impeachment. And the court said, no, you can actually prosecute former presidents for crimes that they committed in office. So the fever dream that you and other Democrats are creating of what this decision implies is not actually what the court said. The court gave a very moderate opinion that said that certain aspects that are conclusive and preclusive within the scope of the executive branch, he has full immunity, and he's got partial immunity around the peripheries, and then he could be criminally liable outside of that. And if you're asking why, President Trump standing on Fifth Avenue and shooting his rival in the face, how we could possibly...
that's not what he asked. That's not what he asked. He said telling someone to do it because it's official presidential business based on what you said. That's what he asked.
prosecute him for that. I think you just don't have any faith in the American legal tradition. I think you're making...
You just said as long as he's doing official presidential business, he is immune. That's what you said. That's words coming out of your mouth.
An absurd argument to try to justify something that actually does upend over 200 years of America.
Like asking the electoral vote to be thrown out?
Let me bring Francesca in. She's been waiting patiently here as the two guys have been duking it out.
I wanted to leave earlier, but no, I just think it's funny though that Michael brings up the Fifth Avenue shooting someone in the face, because the quote is that people would still vote for me. I mean, and this is kind of the sickness of the far right in this country, again, is that Trump does fancy himself above the law. And this incredible dishonest conversation about this immunity ruling is just wild to me. Like, the whole reason that the Supreme Court picked it up is because you've got 3 Trump-appointed justices who are all bought and sold by billionaires in this country, who have all been handpicked by the likes of Leonard Leo and Judicial Watch, right? And these far-right billionaires that know exactly what they're doing. The Federalist Society knows exactly who they've been grooming to be appointed to the highest bench in the land. And here they're delivering on it. They didn't have to take up this case, but it was actually Trump's lawyer's defense against why he shouldn't be prosecuted over both documents cases as well as January 6th inciting a riot. It's just incredible to me. You guys all think that, oh, Biden's a criminal mastermind. He's trying to lock up his opponents. Piers, Michael, he did it to himself. I'm sorry. He didn't have to pay off the porn star by cooking his books, by falsifying business records. Thank you. You're welcome.
You know what happened?
Right? Like, he just did it to himself.
Francesca, the problem...
Let's see Piers try to defend Trump. Oh, let's see Piers try to defend Trump. Let's hear it. Come on.
The problem is, from the moment he got convicted of that crime, what happened? He raised $150 million in 1 week.
Billionaire.
So, what does that have to do with what we're talking about?
But not from everyday people. Ordinary people aren't giving to Donald
I've
Trump.
not met any, honestly, I've not
him.
met any American since that conviction who doesn't just feel a bit embarrassed.
just had a
A bit
fundraiser
embarrassed it
after
ever
his
happened.
He did something illegal. What? Yo, what? I don't get it. I don't get it. This man did something illegal, and we're like, I'm a bit embarrassed that he did something illegal and got charged for it. Like, what?
It was embarrassing for America.
I'd also
for
like to
everyone.
correct the record, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
let's.
because Francesca
President
said
Trump
that
can do
I
whatever he
accused,
wants,
Joe
man.
Biden of being a mastermind. I have never once in my life accused Joe Biden of being a mastermind or even possessing one.
Do you know what? There's a clip on. I've said this before, but
Piers, I'm sorry, man.
there's a clip on YouTube of him talking to a congressional hearing about apartheid South Africa. He must be in his early 40s, Biden. He is fantastic. He's passionate, he's intelligent, he's articulate, he's eloquent, he's brilliant. That guy would be a fantastic president. That guy has long ago left the building. And it's actually...
Why are we still not talking about Biden? You're repeating the same thing. Biden is old. Biden is old. Biden is old. Biden is old. Like, you said the same thing for 40 minutes. Jesus Christ. How
On a
much
human
times
level,
you
it's
can
very
repeat the
sad,
same thing?
But at the same time, he is the president of the United States. Take it to election.
Listen, if they wheel that dude out and he's got an IV drip in him, I'm still voting for him over Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I'd
Are
rather
you
Kamala
really?
Harris as much as I don't. Yeah, absolutely. What do you mean? It's the idea of not accomplishing anything versus
Even
heading
if they
off
literally,
whatever direction
okay,
Donald
to
Trump wants to
clarify,
take us. Yeah.
if they literally wheel him out, you would still vote for him.
Kamala Harris, Jill could walk out on stage with an urn saying, "This is the president." Okay, Joe Biden. Okay, here he is, and I
Come
say,
on.
"Man, this is really annoying."
He did.
Destiny, you can't be
He wanted
serious.
to be. Joe Biden said he wanted to be FDR. So die in office, I
But
guess.
Destiny, you would vote for Joe Biden's urn with his ashes inside rather than Donald Trump.
Absolutely, easiest decision in my life. 100%. Yeah.
Poor Kamala. Poor
Francesca,
Kamala.
would you do that?
Kamala's just like, are you kidding me?
Francesca, would
Would
you
I
do that?
vote for an urn?
Yes.
No. The Democratic Party is doing their own base a massive disservice by keeping Joe Biden in this race. They absolutely are. They're not even creating a new lineup, a new roster of Democrats to come into the wake. They can't even rely on their own vice president. They haven't given her enough leash to actually say anything other than her one catchphrase that makes my mind just boggled. It's really pathetic, and it's pathetic because actually the administration has done some good things. Infrastructure plan, the bipartisan infrastructure bill,
Francesca, I
the
agree
things
with
that
you.
Joe.
Then let her talk. Let her talk. If you agree with her, let her talk. Just let her talk. Piers, let her talk. Jesus Christ. She talked for a whole 10 seconds before Piers wanted to interrupt her about the good things Joe Biden did in the country. Oh my goodness.
Things that Donald Trump keeps on
I
squirting about.
don't disagree. I think there's on legislature, there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. He just can't talk about it because he's not able to articulate what he's done.
But we can talk about it. It's you know what this looks like to me? It looks like a manipulative strategy to put down every good thing Biden did as president, all the good stuff he said while he was in the debate. You're just all the substance, the stuff that matters, all of that you don't want to talk about. But Joe Biden is old. Joe Biden is old. Joe Biden is old. 40-minute conversation. Give me a break, Piers. Come on. It's disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. It is disappointing. Let's see.
Let me
how
ask
this
you
Did you
goes.
see the handshake though? The 3-point handshake.
Yeah.
That 3-point handshake was tight.
Francesca, if you had the power to parachute anybody in from the Democrat side to replace Biden, who would it be?
It's difficult. It's difficult to say. You got to think of someone who's got name recognition and who could also win.
Give me a name.
Oh, my cat. Her name is Ramona. No, I gotta say, I think I'm going with Newsom because of name recognition, the ability to sort of go after someone like Ron DeSantis. But you know what? If we can switch octogenarians, let's go Bernie. Bernie one more time without the Democratic Party tanking his campaign.
Listen, you know what? He would do an immeasurably better job of taking on Trump. As I think Newsom would. I watched Newsom on Sean Hannity for an hour on Fox News. A, I commended him for going into the lion's den, and B, he credited himself extremely well. I wouldn't underestimate Newsom at all. And in relation to any scandals that may come out, he's been pretty well turned over for all of those while he's been governor. So one of the advantages of being a governor for an extended period of time is a lot of the scandal stuff all gets dealt with. Final word to you, Michael. I mean, Michael, where are we heading with this, do you think? Talk me through to election day. What do you actually think is going to happen?
Even if what you'd like to see happens, Francesca, even if it's Newsom or somebody, you still have to contend with the fact that the Democrats would then be skipping over the first black woman vice president with the whitest guy who has ever walked the face of the earth.
In the case of Gavin Newsom. Hang on. There's actually a little twist in that, which Bill Maher got onto, which is if Newsom is the guy, he can't have Kamala as his vice president because they're both from California. So it would only apply if she actually wanted to run for president. But if he was to become the nominee, he wouldn't have to have Kamala Harris because he wouldn't be allowed to, because they're both from California, which is an interesting part of this equation. So they could put him in. I mean, they would be overlooking her for the top job, but he wouldn't have to worry about getting rid of her from the vice presidency because he wouldn't be allowed to have her. So that's just it's an interesting little part of the subtext here.
Sure.
He finally interrupted Knowles.
She wants the top job. She ran for it the first time. And, she also launched her campaign back in 2020, we now forget, on Joe Biden's alleged racism and on the issue of busing. So she's, there's no love lost here between Biden and Kamala. I don't think he wants to pass it to her. I don't think Biden cares all that much for anyone else in the Democratic Party. And I think he's wanted to be president since he was in the womb.
Yeah.
So if, in terms of how do we get to November, the only way that Joe Biden leaves the ticket is if he chooses to, or if one of his caretakers choose to. And so to Destiny's point, I actually kind of understand why you would say, I'll vote for an urn over Donald Trump, because what you're saying is the president doesn't really matter. It's run by a committee and the administrative state, and it'll just keep kind of chugging along, and that'll be fine. The problem, though, with that argument for voters is that everything has gone to hell in a handbasket since Biden got elected. So, you know, you were mentioning earlier, Ukraine or Israel.
This is not true. This is just not true at all. He's about to lie through his teeth, but let's hear about it.
Or this or that. All I can remember, and Trump made a good point of this during the debate, is for the last 20 years, the only president on whose watch Vladimir Putin hasn't invaded more land is Trump. He did it under Bush. He did it under Obama.
COVID happened. What are we doing?
Done under Biden. He didn't do it under Trump. During Trump, we had peace in the Middle East, believe it or not. We had the Abraham Accords and Israel and Saudi Arabia becoming buddies. There's a town in Israel named after Donald Trump. I wouldn't have guessed it either, but it happened. Now, of course, we have this major outbreak of war. You don't need to take my word for it. Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, said that the reason that the Russians invaded is because of American weakness, specifically Biden's, and the fact that Biden actually invited them and said if it was a minor incursion, he wouldn't do anything. So you might dispute all these things and say I'm missing the point or something, but the voters clearly agree with me on this. This is why Biden's so low in the polls, and why the majority of them don't think he should run again.
Okay, I'm actually going to give the final word to you, Destiny, because you were reeling in horror through some of that from Mike. I'm not quite sure why, because it made a lot of sense to me, but go on.
I might reel in horror from what Destiny says, and then we'll just never end this panel.
Well, we're going to end it definitely with Destiny. You've got a minute to summarize your horror here.
If U.S. politics is anything today, it is everybody endlessly recoiling in horror, so you know it would be an appropriate end. I mean, there was somebody that destroyed Donald Trump in debates. I watched it happen over and over and over again. It was Hillary Clinton. It wasn't even close. Donald Trump knows nothing about domestic or foreign policy compared to her. And guess what? None of those debates mattered whatsoever. Just on the final point, it's easy to think that something is good because you look at only the surface level things. You go, oh, well, there were no new wars, so it must have been great. People say peace in the Middle East and forget that Iran attacked Saudi Arabia proper for the first time in all of history. Donald Trump did nothing. The entire Great March of Return, the border riots raged on. Yeah, that's great. That's not peace of the Middle East. The entire border riots raged on 2018, 2019 in Palestine and in Israel. Donald Trump did absolutely nothing. The idea that there was peace in the Middle East here when the region was about to boil over, and it finally did on October 7th, is just laughable. It shows like a total misunderstanding of anything that's happened in the Middle East. What was the peace? Is it the ongoing civil war in Yemen? Was it the ongoing civil war in Syria? Was it the ongoing destabilization in Iraq? Was it the ongoing protests in the Gaza Strip? Like, it's a joke to me. But
on that point of full agreement between all three of you, I'm going to leave it. But thank you to all of you. It's been a great panel. Thank you very much.
Hey man, I don't think Knowles would ever debate Destiny. I'm not gonna lie, man. I wish if I was a full-time content creator and I can really like dive into this. Oh, if I could really just spend all my day researching and diving into this and breaking apart some of these conversations, that would be. We would get some. We'll get down to some places. We would get some stuff done, but never say never. Still, you know, I'm getting older. I'm becoming an old man, but I'm not old yet. So there's still some time. This was not productive at all. They didn't talk about the debate at all. They just talked about how Joe Biden was old. Piers Morgan, this was pathetic from you personally, from my perspective, considering you were very biased, even though you said you were a centrist. It was a weird kind of situation. I'm gonna be honest. Ultimately, nothing was really said. The only thing that was said that got a little interesting was when they talked about the immunity case regarding the Supreme Court and the ruling. I haven't read it yet, so that was interesting information for me to hear. And then it got a little interesting because Noel said something about being no wars. That's such a disingenuous take because one, COVID happened, and two, just because wars didn't happen, it didn't help that a lot of the things that Trump was doing did play into a lot of the thing. Like, well, he made was it Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, and the Palestinians hated that. So this whole idea that, oh yeah, Trump was the reason why everything was calm and all that, it's all very, very disingenuous. Trump didn't do anything. He just stayed away. And sometimes had some meetings with some leaders like Kim Jong-un and Putin. Other than that, he did nothing really. He doesn't have a good understanding of any type of policy or any type of politics. Like if you really, let me stop. I don't want to go on a rant from Trump. The reason why I keep on harping on him though is because it's politics. Like I reacted to a McCain versus Obama debate. And I'm like, McCain has some good points. Obama has some good points. I didn't care about affiliation. I care about what is being said And every time I listen to Donald Trump and I'm listening to what he's saying, he isn't saying anything. That's why I keep on repeating this. He's not saying anything. I need y'all to listen very closely to what he says. He doesn't say anything. He repeats the same rhetoric every single time. But that's fine. Leave it there. Let me know what you guys think. I have some other interesting videos coming out. This is probably the last reaction debate video I'm going to do, because I'll just wait until the next debate. We'll see what happens. But overall, a lot of people's conversation about the presidential debate, it's very eye-opening. And it just, like, again, it preaches what I have to do. I have to bridge the gap with all the people who don't understand so we can kind of get to a better place. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. You all have a good one. Take care and peace.